everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Everyday Jefa. I'm your host, Bessy Martinez, and I'm really excited to be here with you all. Thank you so much for watching or tuning in from wherever it is that you're choosing to engage with your podcast. The Everyday Jefa is exactly that. We're just everyday women out there doing the things, making changes, creating impact, and we just want to bring those stories to you. So we're really excited to be able to bring on so many more amazing stories this year about women that are out there just truly doing the things, setting the examples, but also wanting to share with you all that you're not the only one, that there's a community right behind you. And so we are here to do exactly that. So thank you so much for choosing. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure that you follow us on all our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, the Everyday Jefa Podcast. And so I am excited to be able to bring you a new chica to introduce you. Amazing woman. I am so grateful that when I have the opportunity to share with everybody that I have a podcast and I'm looking to learn and grow with the community and also share their stories, that women are so graceful with their time and their talents and their stories to be able to bring that to you today. So without further ado, I am super excited to bring this person. Bienvenida, Pamela. I am so excited to have you here with us at the Everyday Jefa Podcast. Please let our viewers and our listeners know who you are, what you're doing. And again, thank you so much for being here.
First, thank you so much, Bessy, for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to share this space with you in hopes to inspire other women like me or younger than me. Again, I really appreciate you sharing this space with me. And while I now own a creative marketing agency, I used to own a brand, work with Fortune 500, focusing on branding, web design, and organic marketing. I'm certified in behavior economics, and while driving growth for billion-dollar companies, I thought, wait a minute, I want to make an impact where it counts. And to me, now as I've gotten older, to me, it's to help women, to help minority-owned businesses, to help smaller businesses scale to become million-dollar companies.
That's awesome. I was reading a little bit about your story because when you sent over your bio, and just it's been just super incredible to watch, your journey through the descriptions that you sent over. So kind of take us back. I guess one of the things I love is being able to go to the beginning, right? Because oftentimes we talk about where we are now and where we're wanting to go, right? But we don't always get asked, so how did you start? We're always also asked, why did you start? And so I want to take the chicas from the Everyday Jefa back to the beginning. So kind of walk us through how you got yourself to where you are now.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like every step has really paved the way. I started out in the fashion industry. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm an LA girl living in New York City now. And I always dreamed of living in New York to work in fashion. Moved to New York, work in the fashion industry. I'm going to date myself or age myself, but I work with brands like Sean John, Echo, Rockaware, House of Darion. You remember back in the
Yes.
day. And so I work with the buyers for major retailers, learn how to do e-commerce, anything in fashion, start an entire brand I learned how to do. And then I started a family. And in the fashion industry, it wasn't sustainable to me. It's not the lifestyle that I wanted to have. Pivoted to life sciences, still in sales and marketing. And then I learned I was significantly underpaid. And that
Mm.
was about the time when the Me Too movement and the feminist movement was very prominent. And now that we have social media, it was everywhere. And so I started my own brand. I started a graphic apparel brand to inspire, motivate, and empower women. We gave back to so many organizations. And I actually was not requested, but I received inquiries from other women-owned businesses about my own marketing. And they're like, who's doing your marketing? I love it. Your website, you elevated it so well, blah, blah. And it was me. So that was the beginning of my now creative marketing agency. And so while I was still doing my brand, I was receiving more business on the creative marketing side. So I pivoted. And then 2 years into having my agency, I was recruited to drive growth for Fortune 500. That's where I became certified in behavior economics and learned that driving emotion is what makes people take action. We take action based on how we feel. And then while doing that for 2 years, I still wasn't fulfilled, even though it's something I always wanted to do. Being a little girl, second generation Latina, I dreamt of working with major brands and organizations, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I experienced firsthand what a lot of Latinas minority experience in the corporate world, and it wasn't for me. I've always wanted to do something purposeful. So now I'm like, okay, where do I want the rest of my life to leave? What is my purpose? And I really believe that all of my learnings has contributed to my purpose of helping smaller businesses grow.
What point in your journey did you say, okay, this is great. I love it. And, I know that there's more to this, but I'm built for more. Like I have, there's more than just the purpose or there's more than just feeling like you were created for something more, right? There's almost always a side by side link I've seen that's correlated to uh an experience in your life that kind of reminds you. It could sometimes be that inner voice of inside that says, we're going to show you you're actually more, you're ready for more, you're built for more. So can you tell me if you recall of anything in your journey that kind of was that pivotal point where you're like, hey, yeah, we're done with this. There's more out there for me.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like life has consistently giving me those reminders. I'll share a few. I've always wanted to work for myself and be my own boss and be very successful, but I never knew how. Even when I was little, I would always tell my mom, like, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be a millionaire. I never knew how I was going to do it, but it was always something in me that believed that she could, even if I didn't know exactly how. And then I became a mom and I'm like learning that I'm underpaid. I can't live like this. I want my kids to value women, to see that women can. And so they inspired me to start my own clothing line. And I'm like, oh, like this is the entrepreneurial route that I've always wanted, but I never knew how. And it was so interesting how life just formed a path for me to do so. And then most recently, when I went back full time into my agency, I wasn't happy waking up, working really long hours, helping other companies that didn't care about me make a lot of money. And so I do believe in God and I believe that the universe will give us our answers if we ask. And I said, I'm like, I need the clearest answer with absolutely zero doubt of what I need to do next to really make an impact and do purposeful work. And then like 2 months later, they completely removed my position from the entire company globally. And it was just really clear to me that I had everything I needed to work for myself and support others as I've always wanted to do, really. Like, I feel like that's really impactful. So I just feel like those little reminders that life shares have really been it for me. It's
It's
scary,
interesting.
but you have
It
to really
is.
follow it.
And I think a lot of the times when we use the word scared or it's scary to be able to take that leap of faith, a lot of it has to do with the narratives that sometimes we're taught, right? Or the narratives of the environments that we have been, we walked into. Because it's the unknown. You don't know what you don't know. And especially if nobody's done it before you or you can't lean into somebody that's done it before you, it's kind of like, it is scary because you're afraid to either fail, you're afraid that it's not gonna work out, you're afraid there's a lot of things that can definitely fuel that fear. What is something that you can look back on, that perhaps little Pamela thought success would look like, and what does it truly look like for you now as an adult?
That's actually something that I'm still trying to reframe as I just continue to grow. Maybe because I recently turned 40 also and experienced a huge loss in my family that's really rocked my world. It's really shifted my perspective on a lot of things. But when I was little, I thought success was living a lavish life with designer everything and having lots of money because that's what I saw on TV and in las telenovelas. Also, like, you see all these big, beautiful things and you think like that's success. And most recently, I've realized that I don't lack anything. And like, I'm healthy, I have a home, my kids are great, I get to do purposeful work. And everything else is just an added bonus in my life. So I think realizing that and also witnessing life leave one of my closest loves of my life, my grandfather, he didn't leave with anything but surrounded by love. And that also showed me like, I actually don't lack anything. And I literally have everything that I've always wanted. But to be able to now give back and do something good with my time, that's really been the shift for me. Big difference from the little girl who used to just dream of having this lavish life to just now wanting to experience more love and give back.
So you talked a little bit about all of those OG brands that you used to work, right? And we call them the OG because if not, then we kind of put ourselves in. Even back then, we didn't speak of each other as millennials or Gen Zs or Boomers. We just was like, we're the kids of the 90s, we're the kids of the 2000s, we're the. But you got to experience working with a lot of these major brands. Now, kind of taking a step back with your own business and how you're running things. What do you think separates the brands that scale from the brands that are like stuck?
Sure. I think it's cohesiveness from A to Z. The
Mm,
way they present themselves on every single platform, you're never going to forget them. You get that same experience everywhere they are. Back then, social media wasn't the way it is now, but every place that you saw this brand, you had the same feeling as if when you went to the store to buy it.
yeah.
And I think even now it's something that's very important to have the same brand experience everywhere.
It's a misconception for nonprofits is that we're a charity, right? But I have to often remind people when you're filing and starting a nonprofit, you have to file an LLC just like any other business. What differentiates us is probably the tax bracket because we do have to file an additional form for the 501c3 tax credit.
Yeah.
But we still have to run it like a business. We're not a charity. No business is sustainable without dollars behind it. It's just maybe the approach is a little bit different, right? So I often tell people that for us as a nonprofit, I look at the big brands and what they're doing that are probably similar to maybe the mission and the vision and try to execute as best as possible. But what do you think small businesses, well, small in size, maybe the manpower behind it? Because I'm
Sure.
still one of those, like, I twitch when people say small business owners. I'm like, but we're all business owners. It's just
Yeah.
the
And
manpower behind it is maybe a little bit different, but we're still business owners, right? So working with these larger brands, what do you think is the misconception that people tend to look to these box brands and say, well, they have it all maybe, and I don't. So what do you think is the misconception that for a smaller scaled business that they may have that honestly we're kind of all in the same playing field?
yeah, that's actually something that a topic that I have to discuss a lot and almost like demystify because a lot of small brands, I know that once we start our own brands, we have to do it ourselves because we have to be scrappy, but there comes a certain point where you can and you probably should invest to look like a.
Yeah.
And I feel that might have a lot to do with what you said earlier on our own thoughts and our own values from growing up. Because I don't know about you and others in the audience, but I was raised to put your head down and just work really
Mhm.
hard to make a lot of money. I was never taught to like be assertive and be this leader that wants to command and dominate space. And so once our brand starts to evolve, or once our brand, or once we even have the vision or dreams or desires to take our brand from the form to a certain level, it's easier if we already look and embody it because we're already going to give the decision maker an easy yes because they can see us on the shelves. They can see them sponsoring us. They can see us in the stores or even becoming a customer. And I think that is a huge difference. Like we're so used to being scrappy and doing everything ourselves. However, it is a lot easier if you already look like where you're going. Like it literally changes the game. And I think that has a lot to do. Even for me, I branded 3 times last year because I was trying to figure out who I am, what am I doing,
Yeah.
what do I want to be? I'm a service-based business, so now I can't hide behind a product. So now it was really me. And that's just an example of how I had to just change my thoughts, figure out who I want to be, who I am, and what I want, and what my goals are 5 to 10 years from now, because I don't want to rebrand every year. This is already a big investment. Even for myself, I still paid my team 3 times so we can actually get it right. But it had to do a lot with my own fears. And I was holding myself back because I didn't know how I wanted to show up and what my long-term goals were. So all of that is a huge change maker for businesses once we decide what we want, who we are, and if we're really, really going to go for it. I think it really helps propel their business to the next level.
And I think we often still, reduce the scrappiness to a point of being a phase in the business, right? But the doesn't really necessarily go away, because even when you go to the whatever that next phase is, you still don't know what you're doing. So you're still going to put it based on whatever is in front of you and the best version that you can. And if you really think about it, so do companies. We just don't get to see it because we're not in the behind the scenes with them. But I remember working in corporate for the hotel brands, right? So I'm an ex Marriott, ex Hilton marketing person, and people forget there are people running it, and half of the time they don't even know how to run through things. They're doing it the best way they know and as scrappy as possible
Yeah,
too sometimes. It's just that when it's executed at such a different level because of the resource that they do have, which is the financial backings that they have versus a smaller, but they're also still scrapping it just like the smaller ones.
absolutely. I had a president of a Fortune 300 tell me, so what do you think we should do? What? Why am I doing this for somebody else?
Yeah.
The only difference is the capital, really, because they have the capital to absorb the errors. We just have to make sure that we get it right or do it little by little.
Yeah, yeah. What would be one thing that if you could do and you could go back to change on at any part of your journey, what would that be and why?
To change.
Or maybe even
Uh,
enhance, like I should have really gone deep into this one thing, or I probably could have done without it from the get-go. And I just thought that this is the way it was supposed to be.
I don't know if I would change anything only because I kid you not, every single experience led me to the next. I don't think I would change it. If anything, I would be an entrepreneur earlier in my life because it's literally always something I wanted to do. I started various different brands before I had kids, but I was afraid. And I never took it further than starting the paperwork. And, once we do that, we get excited and like, oh, I started a business. But it's like, no, you have to now show up and you need to let people know that you exist. So I think I would probably, if I have to choose, is to trust myself and know that I could do it earlier on in my life.
Well, good. And thank you. Thank you for saying that, because oftentimes when I ask that question, people go back and go, oh my God, I would have changed X, Y, and Z, not realizing that actually without that, your trajectory may have actually changed. It
Yeah.
would have actually put you in a different position. I don't remember exactly where I read it or who said it best, but there's a saying that goes that like for every decision, there's an alternative route, right? So you kind of, every time you make a decision, whether it's a yes or a no decision, or it's to implement something, what you're doing is you're shifting yourself into a different trajectory. And so if we want the same trajectory that we currently have been on, then and we look back, we're like, well, you know what? Actually, I wouldn't change anything because then I would have never gotten to where I am now. And vice versa. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that, because I think a lot of people don't still understand or truly accept that our journey is unique to us. And so all of these things were already set on our timelines way
Right.
before. We were just the vessels, the people, the thing that actually was put into place to make sure that it happens. What is it? So one of the things about being a business owner, there was this, another saying that somebody said beautifully was, if you ever want to go through a spiritual journey, become an entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Yes,
you are tested in every single limit, right? And then you
literally.
leave your 9 to 5 to become a 24/7 because, and it's not about setting boundaries. Honestly, I don't think that's what that is. I think what it is that because we don't have a clock in, clock out framework put in place yet, especially for entrepreneurs, it's almost like the complete opposite of what a corporate 9 to 5 person does.
Right.
So how do you protect your space? How do you protect your energy? How do you protect your creativeness when as you keep continue to grow and scale your business?
Yeah, you are spot on with everything that you just said. I protected by incorporating joy. I need to do something fun. Maybe not every day, but during the week, I have to do something that has nothing to do with work and is fun, whether it's going to the gym. I like to run, and running does like clear my head, whether it's that. I love to dance. I literally dance in my living room while I'm cooking, when I wake up, before I go to bed, like in my house all the time. Whether it's grabbing a cafecito with my girlfriends, going out to dinner, I have to do something big or small that brings me joy, because that's why I work really, really hard to experience joy and have beautiful life experiences. Yes, to give back to others, but I do that 24/7. I also love what I do. And so I should probably be better at creating a schedule, but it doesn't feel like work. So I could really do it 24/7. But having fun in between the grind, I have to. Like, that's a non negotiable for sure.
What do you think has been the hardest thing for you as you've scaled? Even when you were rebranding, I know that you mentioned a couple of times the fear, right? The word fear. But what do you think may have been that ingrained or kind of happened to you where that became kind of the sounding board to I didn't do this thing because out of fear, but because of and then X, Y, and Z, whatever that was to you.
I think it was realizing my self worth. And
Mm.
I think once I went full time again after leaving corporate, I had to really find that, because in corporate, it was hard to be assertive when nobody opens doors for you. It's hard to have conversations when nobody takes you seriously because you don't look like them. And now I have to show up in the world as this leader who I've always wanted to be and who I know I am, but to myself at home, not to the world. And so it was really that, just stepping into the role of this founder, this expert that I know I am. I just need to communicate that with others. And I don't know if you've experienced that or others, but again, I think it has a lot to do with how I was brought up as a second generation Latina. And I say that often because it's a huge part of who I am. And so I had to, and I'm still working through it, unlearn to be hidden, unlearn to be shy and be introverted, which I do consider myself to be all of those things. But I sometimes wonder if that has to do with my upbringing, because once I get comfortable, you would never know that I'm this shy introvert. Or even on my personal, like, social media marketing, I come off to be this strong person, which I do consider myself to be. However, it does make me like feel some type of way because I'm not accustomed to it with people that I don't know. And so I think it has a lot to do with that, and just really honing it into who you are and who you want to be, and just knowing and taking up space. Like, there's so much space for all of us. And I think once we come to terms, not realize, because everyone is worthy, but once you come to terms with that, and you really step into it and command it in a powerful yet grounded way, I think it's a beautiful thing. And it really does change the game for yourself as a person and your business because it'll be just genuine because your energy says it all, I think.
Speaking of worthiness, I think oftentimes what I hear, especially working alongside women that are looking to launch their businesses, is the number one question they ask pertains to being able to build out their packages, right? Their service offerings and that type of thing. Why do you think it is that we struggle with that, right? We might be really good at learning how to do marketing, or we might get really good at being, networking and introducing our business to people. But why is it when it comes to selling ourselves or producing, creating packages to be able to sell our services so that we can live a fruitful life, we kind of like stumble over our feet?
Yeah, I think the worthiness does have something to do with it. And we might just not know. Like, what is the average? What are our
Yeah.
competitors charging? So I think it does take some research for sure and discovering that you are and learning that you are worthy. If XYZ can charge triple what you're currently charging, so can you. There is no difference between them and us. Um, And that's so funny that you mentioned that too, because I experienced something like that working on a contract with my attorney. My attorney asked me for a specific number and she's like, no, that is really low. Can you give me a higher number? So then I go online and start doing research. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I've led global strategies for Fortune 500s. Yes, here's my number. And she's like, that's way better. I was about to say I wasn't gonna let you, submit this contract with with that number. So I think it goes hand in hand with maybe our own self-worth and also not knowing what the averages are, what our competitors are charging.
Yeah. So you brought this up earlier about, marketing. Marketing has evolved a lot and it's still evolving as with the marketing. We've put I think as a collective society, we have put so much emphasis on social media platforms to be almost like the main marketing driver for especially for small businesses or even personal brands.
Yeah.
But marketing isn't just social media. Social media is kind of the other way around. It's just a snippet of the overall, right? So, in your opinion, break down what marketing for maybe a business owner or even a personal brand. If somebody came to you saying, "Hey, I'd like for you to do an audit, and here's my main goal, which is maybe visibility or something like that."
Yeah.
What would be the first step that you would do in kind of taking that discovery call?
Yeah, the first step would be to analyze their own brand. What is their logo, their messaging, their positioning like, and is that visible everywhere? And is that cohesive with their goals 5, 10 years from now, or even 6 to 9 months from now? I think that is super important because people will remember you by that. The way you communicate throughout your platforms, your logos, the colors that you use, does all of that evoke the same feeling and messages that you want to give out? Is that cohesive with your own purpose and values? And does that stand out? I call it the foundation, does that foundation stand out amongst your competitors? Because we don't want to blend in. We want to stand out and make sure that it's cohesive with who we are, what the brand is, and what the goals are. So the first thing I would do was definitely look at the entire brand identity.
So if somebody was looking to now go to level 2, the 2.0 version, right? And they're wanting to rebrand, what do you think marketing kind of puts into place? Because at this point they've already maybe experienced how marketing has worked for them, right? But now they're
Yeah.
rebranding. So marketing kind of takes a different approach. So how would you approach that marketing piece for them at that point?
Yeah. Well, of course, we'd see where they are and where they want to go. Their goals definitely determine the shifts in the brand identity. I don't think it should be a completely different brand identity, but it should definitely look like a level up. It should look exactly like you said, like the 2.0 version with their positioning and messaging probably a little bit elevated or a little bit different to point into the direction that they want to go.
What do you think is the reason why entrepreneurs stumble when it comes to marketing? Why do we complicate it? Because I remember like I'm self-taught marketing. So a lot of it was me learning from others. And even I was like, would always feel like marketing was so complicated. Like there's just so many pieces. Yes, there is. But as a small business owner, it's a little different. But I think we overcomplicate it even more as a small business owner. I think it has to go back to like what we initially said, the whole perfection complex, where we're driving on the wanting to make sure it's done the right way at the beginning. But what do you think is the reason why a lot of small business owners overcomplicate what the marketing should be and look like for their business?
I think because we might be comparing ourselves to what we see on social media. We're
Mm,
like doom scrolling and we see all these other things. And now with AI, you don't know what's real and what's not. And so when we see that, and then maybe when we look at ourselves, we're like, we're not there yet. How can I get there? And we start doing all these other things and want to tap into all these platforms at the same time when it's really, as a small business owner, it is one step at a time. So, like solidifying your foundation first so you know how to show up on all these different platforms or take over one platform or two platforms at a time versus trying to do it all because we can't. Unfortunately, sometimes it does feel like we do it all because if you're a one woman show, you do have to do it all. But
yeah.
is one thing at a time. And sometimes you need to have your blinders on and just focus on ourselves instead of doom scrolling and comparing ourselves to others. I think that's where things can get complicated. And another one is not being afraid to show up. Like we have to talk about what we do. How else are people going to know? And it's easier if we talk about what we do because other people are going to like us and they're going to want to support us because they've heard our stories because we're showing up. And that's another common denominator of clients of mine who don't want to show up on the camera, which is I get it. It took me years. I'd put on filters and glasses and hats, but eventually, you learn not to care and to just be yourself. And it is a camera. You hit send and you don't have to look at it.
Yes. Do you think marketing has a lot of power over sales being made for a business owner?
Absolutely. And there's different types. Like you said, it doesn't have to be social media, but I think in person, experiential marketing and building community is way better, especially for a product.
Yeah. It's almost like, because marketing does have so many elements to it, but I've always felt like marketing is really, yes, you are the one driving, but marketing is kind of like your co pilot,
Right.
where you don't necessarily have to sell yourself in the sense of like, it's almost like you're really informing people of what you do, like you mentioned. And you're showing up and people get that one-on-one interaction, even if it's through a screen. And they're like, we're willing to pay whatever it is, but because your
Right.
marketing was so strong that they understood almost everything of your
Yeah.
business that were selling without being a salesperson per
Selling.
se.
Yeah. That's when branding's done right.
Yeah, when you can make money, as they
Yeah.
say, in your sleep, so to speak.
Right. That's why you invested in it because so it can do that. Exactly.
Yeah, it's It's come a long way. Like I said, like social media has
I know.
taken the driver's seat when it comes a lot to marketing. However, I kind of feel like at some point it'll be something that goes hand in hand. How do you think AI is going into place for marketing? Do you think it's something that's helping it? Do you think it's hurting it? Or do you think it's something that can be like cohesively living together?
I think it can be something that's cohesively living together. I mean, it's really neat how we can brainstorm, get ideas. Sure, it saves you time, but I think the reason why I don't think it would take over is because we still need people. We
Mm-hmm.
sell to people. This world functions because of people, not because
Mm-hmm.
of robots. We can't
Yes.
sell to AI. AI can't eat whatever bakers or restaurants sell. So I think it is a great tool for marketing, but it's not the end all be all. We still need people. And so when we use AI, it should be in a way that takes people into consideration first because they are our clients, they are the customers, who need what we do. So I think, yeah, I consider it a tool, not something that would take over, because without people, there'd be nothing.
Yeah, I kind of use the cooking method, right? Like you can't cook your food without some sort of oil, but who's going to cook the food if you replace the person that's making the meal, right? So,
Yeah.
AI can be the alternative oil, so to speak, to the other
Right.
things that you use, but you still have to be the one showing up. It's You can't replace you. It
Right.
can
We
learn from
still
you, but
need,
it cannot absolutely replace you. And I mean, I love AI.
exactly.
That's where I spill all of my creative ideas. I have ADHD, so I have to simplify my brain as best as possible to
Yeah.
execute. And sometimes AI is what said, "Yeah, I have this idea," especially in marketing and how I'm going to do stuff. And it helps me visually see things. But in the
Yeah.
end, the person that has to put the action behind it is me.
Yeah. It is helpful for
Yeah.
sure. I love
So,
it.
as a business owner, what if there's, somebody out there listening or watching us that feels invisible in this industry? What would be your advice to them?
That feels invisible in marketing or in business.
In marketing.
If they feel invisible in marketing, that's definitely a branding conversation. Maybe it's also a conversation within themselves. Are they ready to stand out? Are they ready to become visible? Are they ready to be found? And then once they determine, like, yes, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I want to go, I think it's then to put the foundation together of their brand identity to resemble that, so they feel confident in who they are, where they want to go, and so that they are found, or people have that same experience of their brand and who they are everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's mindset. I always tell people a lot of marketing is mindset. And
It
then
is entrepreneurship too, for sure.
and then it's execution after that, like the action, right? So it's
Right.
mindset and then it's action and then it's, I guess, if you want to add a third one, it's scalability. But no, it's hard sometimes because often I've seen small businesses, the last thing they want to do is marketing. Because like you said, it's the one thing they don't want to do is have to be the face of it. When you become a business owner, you kind of become the face of it.
Yeah, and it's helpful because people get to connect with.
Yes, I know, absolutely. Like, how else is it gonna thrive or meet your goals and stuff like that if you're not visible in a sense, right?
Right.
So let me ask you this: what does being an everyday heifer mean to you?
Being an everyday jefa means that you get to choose what you want to do every day and how you want to feel. And there's no longer anybody telling you what to do, where to go. Nobody is blocking you. And I feel like it feels really good to have this freedom of being, and no longer people slam doors in your face, not pulling chairs over to your tables or their tables, because now we're building our own and bringing all our chairs and inviting everybody to our own tables. So I love it.
What is something that you would want our viewers or our listeners to take away from our conversation today?
I hope they feel inspired by it to continue. If they're entrepreneurs, I hope they continue onto their dreams and make their businesses and their purpose visible and impactful. We are all absolutely worthy, and there is so much space for all of us. And but I know this is our time to really step into what we want to do, and not have our voices hidden anymore.
I agree 200% with you. So, thank you so much, Pamela, for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your heart and really holding space for all of us kind of going through this journey, no matter where we are, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or we're in the turn of wanting to give back. So, I truly appreciate it. Don't take it for granted. Any of our guests that come onto the show with us, excuse me, to where can people find you? How can they connect with you? And how can they just continue to follow your journey?
Yeah, thank you so much. I love this conversation. I'm so appreciative to share this time with you. Again, my name is Pamela Delgado, and my Instagram is at the Pamela Delgado. I'm going to assume the information will also be in the show notes. And my website is delgadocreativegroup.com. And I look forward to connecting and just being a resource for anybody who has any ideas or felt some type of way after this episode.
Well, you heard it, chicas. Thank you so much for tuning in today or watching us from your YouTube channel. We are so grateful to have this guest today. And please let us know what kind of conversations are you looking for. And we will make sure that we have that everyday Jefa joining us through our event journey. So thank you so much for joining us. Check us out on social media, on LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel. And we cannot wait to sit right back here with you with another Jefa. So, hasta la próxima. Nos vemos, chicas. Bye.